When he was ready to compete in his first Olympic Games, the country of his birth no longer existed. Before gaining its independence in 1977, it had been under colonial rule for more than a century. In 1980, it boycotted the Moscow Olympics, but in 1984, he and his 7-year-old nation shared their first Olympic appearance in Los Angeles, where he and two of his countrymen competed in the marathon. But while one teammate did crack the top 10, none of the three were completely satisfied with the result in that race. So when the Seoul Games rolled around 4 years later, he was ready to make a name for himself and his country. Today is Tuesday, October 7th, 2025, and this week in 1988, Ahmed Salah won a bronze medal in the men's marathon at the Olympics in Seoul, which was the first and only Olympic medal ever won by the country of Djibouti. I'm your host, Running Up That Hillary, and you are listening to Today in Running History. It is once again Tat Tuesday, which means that this episode is sponsored by My Race Tats, which are the temporary tattoos with motivational mantras that I wear for all of my races. I have the Chicago Marathon coming up this weekend, and I am still deciding on which mantra tattoo to wear, but I will definitely also be wearing one of these Run Chicago tats on my other wrist. In case you missed it during my last Tat Tuesday episode, I am giving out the other 9 of these that I have throughout the weekend. So if you happen to see me out and about in Chicago, ask me for a Run Chicago tattoo so that you can wear one as well. And then for everyone else, listeners of Today in Running History can always get 20% off your purchase from My Race Tats by using my code Hillary at checkout. They just came out with some really great tattoos for next month's New York City Marathon, and they also have those glitter freckles that everyone seems to be wearing at every single race these days. So check out the link to My Race Tats in the episode description, use my code Hillary at checkout, and if you are running Chicago, look for me at the expo and other events for a free Run Chicago tattoo. Happy Tat Tuesday! Now, before we can start to talk about Ahmed Salah, we need to address the elephant in the room. Yes, Djibouti is a silly word. It sounds like your booty. And y'all know I love me some puns, so let's get that out of the way up front. Damn, Djibouti is hot. What happens when there's an earthquake in Africa? It shakes Djibouti. Where did the proctologist lose his passport? In Djibouti. Okay, that was more than enough of that, so let's actually talk about the country of Djibouti. The land itself has been inhabited since at least the Stone Age, with records of ancient Egyptians making their journey there as early as 4,500 years ago. Islam was introduced in the Middle Ages, and then there were about 1,000 years of people fighting over control of the area, including Ethiopians, Ottomans, Yemenis, Egyptians, Somalis, and Frenchmen. There is obviously a lot that I am glossing over, but for our purposes, what you need to know is that the Republic of Djibouti was formed after finally gaining its independence in 1977. The 1980 Moscow Olympics were the first in which Djibouti was eligible to compete, but along with 64 other countries, including the United States, they boycotted in protest of the actions of the Soviet Union. And so Djibouti had its first Olympic appearance in 1984 at the Games in Los Angeles. The country's entire team consisted of 3 athletes, all of whom competed in the men's marathon. 2 of them finished 8th and 32nd, and the subject of our story, Ahmed Salah, came in 20th. Hussein Ahmed Salah was born at some point in the mid-1950s, though he is unsure of the exact day, in what was then French Somaliland. Not much is known about his childhood other than that his father was a nomadic shepherd who had 3 wives, between whom he fathered 20 children. Salah left home at 14 to become a waiter in the capital city, also called Djibouti, and eventually enlisted in the army. When Salah and his fellow recruits were ordered on a 5-mile run, he finished so far out in front that the army recommended him to the Djibouti Sports Federation. He made his marathon debut at the 1983 World Championships in Helsinki, but ended up unable to finish after breaking his leg just 3 miles in. The first marathon that he ever finished was at those LA Olympics with a time of 2:15:59. Not too shabby. 1985 was a huge year for Ahmed Salah. He won the marathon at the African Championships in Cairo and the World Cup in Hiroshima, Japan, and then came in second in the New York City Marathon. He won the Paris Marathon in 1986 and came in second at the World Championship Marathon in 1987. He began 1988 with a second place finish at the Rotterdam Marathon in the Netherlands. Both he and the winner, Belena Dinsamo of Ethiopia, ran faster than the previous world record, and Salah's time of 2:07:07 remains the Djiboutian record to this day. So obviously, going into the Olympic marathon later that year, Ahmed Salah was by no means an underdog. Still, the fact that the tiny and incredibly impoverished country even had a medal contender for that race was a huge deal. About the size of New Hampshire, it is the smallest country in mainland Africa, has virtually no natural resources, and is literally nicknamed the Valley of Hell because of how hot, dry, and poor it is. It is essentially the Death Valley of the Eastern Hemisphere. In an archived news feature on Salah in 1986, CBS stated that at that point there was literally not a single track anywhere in the country of Djibouti. Leading up to the 1988 Olympic Marathon, Salah and his teammates went to train in Paris, where the climate was more agreeable and there were more athletic facilities and resources available. At that point, 30-year-old Salah was supporting 27 family members back home, including 2 of his own children, so the stakes were even higher. The men's marathon at the Seoul Olympics was held on October 2nd, 1988, exactly 37 years ago this week. And as is customary, it began at 2:30 p.m. 118 men from 66 countries began the race in Olympic Stadium, and due to the heat, the pace was relatively slow for the first 25 kilometers. Around the 30K mark, 6 men, including Salah, separated from the pack, and at 40K, Salah took the lead. During the final 2 kilometers, Salah fell back to 3rd place, and by the time the lead group entered the Olympic Stadium, there were 4 men in view. Gelendo Bordin of Italy won in 2:10:32, with Douglas Wakahuri of Kenya taking silver just 15 seconds later. Ahmed Salah finished another 12 seconds later to secure the bronze, 6 seconds ahead of the 4th place finisher. It ended up being one of the smallest margins of any Olympic marathon in history. With that 3rd place finish, Ahmed Salah took his place on the podium and became the first Djiboutian to ever win an Olympic medal. That day was arguably the most significant in his home country's young history. Ahmed Salah took a break from running after his Olympic bronze medal, but returned to competition in 1991 to take silver in the marathon at that year's World Championships in Tokyo. In addition to 2 more Olympic appearances, Salah's accolades in the 1990s include winning 4 more marathons. His final professional race was a win at the 1998 Enschede Marathon in the Netherlands, exactly 10 years after his Olympic bronze. At the 2016 Games, Alenia Suleiman finished 4th in the 1500 meters, barely missing out on what would have been Djibouti's 2nd ever Olympic medal. She and Salah remain the country's most beloved athletes and symbols of what is possible in a country where 79% of the population lives in poverty. That is it for today's show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and all that jazz. It is Tattoos Day, and listeners of the pod can always save 20% off your purchase from My Race Tats using my code Hillary at checkout, which I will include in the episode description. Join me next time as I sit down with legendary coach and Olympic medalist Bill Dellinger's nephew to hear what Bill was really like and learn why exactly there's a hole in the wall near the ceiling in Bill's living room. I'm your host, Running Up That Hillary, and this has been Today in Running History. Even had a medical contender. That's not a thing. I mean, I guess he broke his leg at one of them, so I guess medical contender fits. Today is Tuesday, October 7th, 2025, and on this, no, it's this week, because we changed that up. Dang it, my phone. It's in my pocket. Okay. At checkout, it's not 20. Why would I put Hillary 20? That's not my. Oh, the previous world record. Damn it, I can't get to descendants. Both he and the winner